Imagine this. You meet someone kind, consistent, emotionally available, and they text back. They ask how your day is going. They actually listen. And instead of feeling safe, you actually feel tense. And this is not because they did anything wrong, but rather because something inside of you says, don't get too comfortable. They're going to let you down eventually. And if you were the caregiver growing up, if you grew up in chaos, especially a home shaped by alcoholism, chaos, and emotional immaturity or unpredictability, then intimacy doesn't just feel vulnerable, but it actually feels unsafe and dangerous. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that happens neurologically, emotionally, and somatically, and how to start building intimacy without losing yourself. Hi, I'm Karina Aybar, psychotherapist and coach, and I make videos about setting boundaries without feeling guilty, emotional regulation, parentification, and generational trauma recovery so that you can understand why you feel the way you do and how to change it with compassion and practical healing tools. So this is the story that most people don't realize they are repeating. So let me tell you about one of my clients who grew up in a home where her father drank heavily, and some nights he was charming and other nights he was volatile, and her mother just coped by shutting down and just doing a lot in the home. And it was hard to tell whether her dad was an alcoholic because he was highly functional, right? So in her childhood, she just learned, read the room or fix the mood or be the good daughter and overlook everything that was going on. She couldn't put a finger on it. And by 10 years old, she could actually sense tension before anyone spoke. And by 14, she was mediating arguments between them. Now by 18, she was emotionally more mature than both parents. And now she's in her mid-30s and she tells me, I want intimacy, I want partnership, but every time that someone gets close, I either start taking over everything or I emotionally check out. I find myself with one foot in and one foot out. What she doesn't see is that her nervous system equates closeness with instability, because in childhood, closeness meant exposure to unpredictability and the high probability that you will be let down, that you will have broken promises, and that somehow someone will drop the ball, will forget about your needs, or will make you justify yourself a lot and argue a lot. And this is why I want to talk about some of the traits of adult children of dysfunctional families, because many adult children of alcoholics or chronically dysfunctional homes share patterns like hypervigilance, difficulty trusting consistency or over-responsibility, perfectionism, people-pleasing, fear of conflict, emotional suppression, and feeling different or separate from others and struggling to identify their emotions and needs. In fact, many adult children struggle to identify what normal is and to receive support, because you didn't just grow up too fast, but you grew up in an environment where connection required management and hypervigilance. So your brain learned, if I don't control the emotional climate, I am not safe. And the wiring doesn't disappear just because you are dating someone stable now or as an adult. After all these years, neurologically, many factors come into play. You see, when you grow up in chaos, especially around addiction or emotional unpredictability, whether because a parent or a caretaker also had mental health challenges, then your amygdala became highly attuned to threat cues. You might know the amygdala is that almond-shaped part of the brain who scans for threats, right? So you are heavily attuned to silences, to facial shifts, and energy drops in interactions. And your nervous system became an early warning system. Here's what I want to share also. Your system also learned that intimacy equals exposure and vulnerability. And when someone gets close, then your body prepares for either disappointment, for rejection, for emotional instability, and being needed excessively. And you may think that you are emotionally available. But when you think about it, you are already creating a certain separation and becoming a caretaker, which places you in a more position of power, not because you are craving to be in charge, but rather you don't want to be put in the same positions that you were growing up. So your body, your system, it's responding to stored memory patterns and trauma responses. And that is actually the conditioning that you receive. Even when your partner is showing you signs that they care, you may use words like, you never do this for me, or you always do this, therefore discounting any efforts that is being put and sabotaging their relationship. And when intimacy deepens, you may notice that your body may feel tension and you have irritability that you cannot explain. You may feel trapped or emotional numbness at times. So you may vacillate between being a bit clingy and needy, needing a lot of affirmation, to volatile behavior or just wanting to just get away, right? You can at times feel like, I love them, but I feel suffocated, or I don't know why I'm pulling away, or this person is so healthy, he's so nice, they're just so thoughtful, and you start to pull away. And that is your nervous system saying, closeness used to cost us something. In fact, a lot. And that is how we start to sabotage a relationship, a perfectly fine relationship, but stability can trigger that sense of lack of control. So if you were the caregiver growing up or a mediator, then you likely built your identity around either being a strong one, the reliable one, and being responsible and mature. In fact, you might have been the golden child growing up. And this is why intimacy presents a paradox, because healthy intimacy requires mutuality. But mutuality means that you do not carry everything, that you aren't the emotional manager, which you are so accustomed to, and you allow someone else to show up, especially show up to take care of you. And that can feel very destabilizing for someone who has been parentified and grew up in family dysfunction, having to step it up ahead of time, ahead of your age. And so what you can think to yourself is like, if I'm not the caretaker, then who am I, right? Who are you? And that identity shift can be more uncomfortable than loneliness. That is why many of my clients are hyper independent, actually. They can take care of themselves and others, but they do abandon themselves in very subtle and non-visible ways. You see, adult children of dysfunctional families often carry beliefs like, if I depend on someone, I will get hurt, or my needs may be too much, or they're not ready to hear everything I've been through, or I have to earn love. Another big one is, if I relax, something will go wrong, and nobody else will take care of it unless I do. So when a partner expresses vulnerability, instead of leaning in, you may overfunction and fix. You may minimize your own needs. You can emotionally detach, and you create distance to regain control. And it's not because you don't love them or you don't want love, but it is because love once required survival skills, and it was heavily transactional. There were consequences, so you didn't know what to expect. And that is why it's better to be in a position of healthy distance, or so you think it's healthy distance, right? So this is how many of my clients and members identify it. They say things like, I don't realize I am overwhelmed until months later, or I don't know what happens, everything is fine, but I'm just feeling this distance, I don't know. So why? Because you don't realize your emotions, because you learn to override your own needs in lieu of stability. So you can tolerate a lot until your body cannot. So you feel very drained often in relationships. And then resentment, shutdown, anxiety appears out of nowhere. And it didn't come out of nowhere. It actually accumulated quietly, because if you were not assertive enough, because you were trying to prioritize the peace in the relationship and not to let them down, or thinking about what they want, or if I express needs, they may feel upset or perceive it as conflict, and I don't want that. So you keep on overriding your needs, right? And what happens over a period of time? Resentment. Of course, resentment, because you are not articulating yourself and what you need. In fact, you may even struggle to identify what you need initially, right? And I want to ask you, like, is this person actually unsafe, right? Or is your system remembering something? That question alone builds prefrontal awareness and calms the amygdala that is so hyperactive for years. This is why I want to offer you another practical way of addressing it, right? Let's say your partner offers help and notice the urge to say, oh, it's fine, I've got it. Or, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'm okay. So instead, I want you to experiment with thank you. That's it. Even if it feels uncomfortable, your nervous system is retraining itself to receive. Just say, thank you, I appreciate that. Silence. Hold on to something, but be quiet and receive. And I know it's easier said than done. Another strategy I want to offer you is to, before jumping into fixing mode, I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this mine to manage? Again, is this mine to manage? This is especially important for adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families who feel responsible for managing other people's moods. You know what I'm talking about. I also want to offer you this other perspective, is that to build intimacy gradually, you don't need to force vulnerability or oversharing, but try small disclosures. You can say, I felt anxious later. I was a little overwhelmed today, or I felt anxious earlier, and let the moment pass without rescuing or retreating. Just simply say that, because your body needs repeated safe experiences, and that is how neuroplasticity works. You are disclosing in micro doses where you can identify where you were feeling and then share a bit, right? Another perspective or another tool I want to offer you is to redefine safety. Safety isn't necessarily control or emotional management or predicting everyone's needs. Safety is mutual responsibility, emotional accountability, and space for your needs. Why? Because you are so used to holding space for others, but you deserve to have space held for you. And that redefinition changes everything. Now, so before we go, I want to offer you this reflective question. When someone starts depending on you emotionally, what happens inside of you? Do you either step up and take over? Do you feel irritated and avoidant? Do you shut down? Do you get anxious or do you pull away? Please tell me. I genuinely want to know in the comments, and I respond to each one of them, okay? Please know that this doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with you, and that this is not something that we can actually grow out of. Absolutely. I used to do this myself without realizing it. So I just wanted to offer that so that you know you're not alone in this. There are so many people, and that is why there is a beauty of the book Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, so that you can learn more about these traits. And if you were the caregiver in a dysfunctional home, the mature child, then intimacy may feel foreign as of now. But your fear of closeness isn't a character flaw, but rather a nervous system that learned that connection required vigilance, hypervigilance, to be clear. And what was learned can be unlearned one day at a time, gently, with compassion, and gradually. Now, if this resonated, please stay here. I publish videos around healing these patterns and how to move forward today on a weekly basis. In my last video, I talked about how to stop emotionally overfunctioning and set boundaries, and that might give you some needed relief and validation. So, most importantly, you deserve to have reciprocal relationships where closeness doesn't feel heavy, but rather safe. I will see you in the next video, and please remember your resilience.